This may come as a surprise to some of you, but I sometimes can be a little bit long-winded. And that leads to me not being able to talk about as many things as I want to talk about sometimes over the course of a week. Or in this situation here, not talk about as many games in a week as I want to talk about. So I'm going to try something here. Now, this might work, might not work. It might fail miserably, or you guys might hate it, in which case I won't do it again. I'm going to see... I'm going to try to talk about, I've got 10 games here. I've got 10 games written down that I want to talk about. There's just so many good games. I did an LSU Alabama video. Tomorrow I'm doing my Georgia Missouri video. Those are a little longer. I could do 20-minute videos on all 10 of these games, but it's just not enough time. Anyway, I can be a little long-winded. I'm going to see if I can talk about all 10 of these games in 10 minutes. I've got the timer. I've got the timer set to 10 minutes on my phone here. I'm going to see if I can talk about all 10 of these games in 10 minutes. I'm going to put the timer up on the screen so y'all can see how I do, or how many games. First of all, before I get started, how many games do you think I will make it through in 10 minutes? You think I'll do all 10? Do you only think I get halfway? That comes down to 1 minute per game. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, up first, Notre Dame on the road at Clemson. Clemson's favored by 3. Clemson's season is completely fallen apart. They're 4-4. They're done with anything in terms of what their goals were in the offseason or the preseason heading into the season. Dabo hates his own fans. He's yelling at callers. He's doing press conferences, calling his fans bandwagons. Not a good look. Cade Klubnik's not a good quarterback. He keeps turning the ball over. Will Shipley's out hurt. Clemson's defense is a mirage. It's not nearly as good as anybody thought. Notre Dame's got 2 losses, but Notre Dame played a tough 4 stretch games of where they played Ohio State, Duke, Louisville, and Southern Cal. They went 2-2 there. Not terrible. Notre Dame is way better than Clemson. I get it that Clemson's at home. I'm not buying it. The fans are not happy. The natives are restless in Tatertown. I'm going to take Notre Dame to cover the 3. So give me the Irish. Game number 2, Texas on the road at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 3-point. It took me about a minute to do that first game, so we're on track. Texas A&M at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 3-point favorite. This is surprising to me just because Ole Miss is like a top 10 team, or so they tell us. They've only got the 1 loss. That was on the road at Bama, right? Texas A&M's an absolute disaster. They can't beat anybody not named South Carolina. It's another offensive flop for Jimbo Fisher, even though they've brought in Bobby Petrino to try to help him out. It's just nothing has worked. They've lost every meaningful game they've played this year. Now they're going on the road to a top 10 team, and they're only a 3-point underdog. This tells me one of 2 things. Either Texas A&M is way better than I think they are, or Ole Miss ain't nearly as good as some people are telling me that they are. And on top of that, Ole Miss has to travel to Athens, Georgia next week for a potential top 10 showdown if Ole Miss can get past Texas A&M, which I think they will. Give me not Texas A&M. Give me Ole Miss. Give me the Rebels. Lay the points. But Lane Kiffin is still the most overrated coach in the country. Lane Kiffin, all hat, no cattle. We're running about 15 seconds behind. Arkansas at Florida. Florida is favored by 5.5. Why? I don't know. Arkansas hasn't won an SEC game all year. I get it. A lot of people are done with Sam Pittman. They think maybe a change is coming. I get it. But here's the thing. Yes, Arkansas is bad. Their record is terrible. They haven't won an SEC game. They also haven't lost an SEC game by more than a touchdown. Now Florida's supposed to beat them by 5.5. Florida's not any good either. Graham Mertz is terrible. They got humiliated last week by their biggest rival. Georgia, just an absolute beatdown, which is demoralizing. And Georgia has a habit of beating teams twice, sometimes 3 times. Ask Kentucky. Kentucky was a great team until they played Georgia. Now they can't win a game. I see a similar scenario for Florida here. Not only do I think Arkansas, behind KJ Jefferson and their running game, will keep it closer than the 5.5. I actually think Arkansas wins outright. Give me the Hogs on the road with the upset win over the Gators. 15 seconds behind still. We got to move it along. OU on the road at Oklahoma State. Don't look now. 5-way tie in the Big 12 for first place. There's 5 teams with 1 loss. These are 2 of them. The loser of this game is almost done in terms of making the Big 12 title game. That is hard to believe after as good as Oklahoma and Texas looked in the first month of the season, that here we are in November, and both Oklahoma and Texas are one loss away from not even playing for a Big 12 title. Oklahoma State's been one of the hottest teams in the Big 12 over the last month or so. I don't know what happened there. They were terrible the second half of last season. They were terrible for the first month of this season, but something happened in October, and they've been a totally different team. Oklahoma, on the other hand, ever since they beat Texas, has stopped showing up for games. They almost got beat a couple of weeks ago by a bad Central Florida team. They did get beat this past week by Kansas. Now they got to go on the road to a red-hot Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State's pissed off. Why? Oklahoma's leaving. They're going to the SEC. They're not taking Oklahoma State with them. Oklahoma State's big mad. This is the bedlam, a rivalry, an in-state game. This is the last year this game is going to be played for the foreseeable future because these two teams are both acting like their feelings are hurt and don't want to schedule this game going forward because Oklahoma's leaving us behind. Okay, yeah, well, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. Nothing would make Oklahoma State happier. Nothing on earth would make Oklahoma State happier than in Oklahoma's last year of the Big 12, where they've got Big 12 title aspirations and playoff aspirations. Nothing will make Oklahoma State fans happier than for Oklahoma State to knock Oklahoma out of all of that. I think they do it. Give me Oklahoma State. I'll take the 6 points, though. Virginia Tech on the road at Louisville. Louisville's favored by 9.5. If Virginia Tech wins this game, they're in second place in the ACC. What is going on in the ACC? Florida State's undefeated. They're going to the ACC title game. North Carolina's fallen off the map. Miami fell off the map. Clemson fell off the map. Duke fell off the map. The last one standing is Louisville in the ACC, and they even have a boneheaded loss to a terrible Pitt team. But they're still in. They're tied for how? Virginia Tech's only got one ACC loss. Hello? Did you hear me? Virginia Tech is 4-4, but they only have one ACC loss. The same as Louisville. If they beat Louisville, they're in second place in the ACC. It's upside down world in the ACC. I don't think it happens. I think Louisville gets the win by more than the 9.5. Kansas on the road at Iowa State. Iowa State's the fifth team with one loss. So you got Texas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and Iowa State, all with one loss in the Big 12. So Iowa State tied for first place in the Big 12. Not after this weekend. I think Kansas keeps it going, actually. They beat Oklahoma last week. I think they keep it going on the road this week with a win over Iowa State. Washington on the road at Southern Cal. How much time's left? Oh, my God. Under 4 minutes to go. Yep. Kansas on, no. Washington on the road at Southern Cal. Southern Cal can't win a game lately. They're a 3-point underdog at home against Michael Penix and Washington. Washington's had a down couple of weeks. Michael Penix started out red hot, was lighting everybody up. Washington looked like for a while, first month of the season, like they might be the best, most complete team in the country. Right now, that's probably Michigan, but they cheat, so that doesn't count. But Washington has been sort of just treading water the last couple of weeks. I think they show back up to play this weekend on the road at Southern Cal. I think they beat Caleb Williams in Southern Cal. I don't think it'll be particularly close. I think Washington wins big. Oregon State on the road at Colorado. Colorado, another team that seems like, they beat TCU in week 1. Have they won a game since then? I know they have. I think they're at 4 wins or something, but they're not making a bowl game. But they're hosting Oregon State. This is probably Colorado's best chance left on their schedule to win a game. And Oregon State's ranked in the top 15, and they're favored by 13.5 on the road at Colorado. Deion Sanders threw his entire offensive line under the bus, not literally, but figuratively, said they're terrible, they're not any good, and we need all new offensive linemen. Told you before, Deion Sanders is not a football coach. He's a peewee team dad. He's just there to prop his sons up, make them look good. That's it. I don't trust Colorado. I'm done with them. I'll take Oregon State to win and cover on the road. Miami on the road at NC State, under 2.5 minutes to go. Miami on the road at NC State. NC State is a 5.5-point underdog. Miami is one of the hardest teams to figure out, not just in the ACC, but in the country. At times, they look really, really good. At times, other times, they look like they don't know what the hell they're doing. Mario Cristobal is a great recruiter. When Miami hired him, the only question marks were kind of his kind of in-game coaching and some development stuff. And that's kind of been a fail at Miami, too. He cost them the Georgia Tech game a couple of weeks ago with boneheaded coaching decisions. But then they get a win over Clemson. But then everybody gets a win over Clemson. It's just hard to figure out what's going on with Miami. Speaking of wins over Clemson, NC State just got done beating them last week. So it's hard to tell what's going to happen here. Miami favored it by 5.5 on the road. I actually think Miami's this is rare in college football. I think Miami's a better team on the road than they are at home. Now, part of the reason is because they don't have a home. They lease an NFL stadium and put 12 people in it. No one goes to those games. So I actually like Miami's chances better in this game because it's on the road. They're a 5.5-point favorite. I think they win and cover. And a minute 20 to go, last game. Kansas State on the road at Texas. Texas is favored by 4. I can't overestimate how big these games are this weekend in the Big 12. You've got, well, talked about earlier, Oklahoma on the road at Oklahoma State. Both of those teams have one Big 12 loss. Here, Kansas State on the road at Texas. Each of these teams have one Big 12 loss. 2 of those 4 teams, in my opinion, are going to the Big 12 title game. I think it's possible that both Texas and Oklahoma lose this weekend. I've already picked Oklahoma State to win the Bedlam game over Oklahoma. Texas, I think, is probably the best team in the Big 12. I thought that before they lost to Oklahoma. I still thought that after they lost to Oklahoma, and I still think that today. But they have not played well the last couple of weeks either, and now Quinn Ewers is hurt. They've got Malik Murphy in. He didn't look great last week, especially in the first half. I think he plays a lot better this week, though. I think first game jitters, whatever you want to call it. I think Texas beats Kansas State, and Kansas State's red hot. They beat, was it TCU or Texas Tech? They beat somebody by like 50 points last week. This will be a great game. I won't be shocked if Texas and Oklahoma both go down this weekend, but I'm going to pick one to win, one to lose. Oklahoma State loses on the road in the Oklahoma loses on the road in the Bedlam game to Oklahoma State. Texas wins at home over Kansas State. Have a good morning.